Hello and welcome to the SSF webinars. I am Jérémy Roberge, Communication and Knowledge Mobilization Officer at the Société. It will be a pleasure to be your host for this webinar. Today's webinar is the fourth in the Winter-Spring 2018 series. We have two types of webinar, Professional Development Series and Discovery Series. First, a little overview of the SSF and our webinar. Société Santé en français is a national group of 16 provincial, territorial, and regional networks that are committed to improving the health of all francophones and Acadian living in minority communities in Canada throughout greater access to quality healthcare services in their language. We have three objectives with our webinar. First, improve access to new information. Second, facilitate evidence-based decision-making. And the third one is foster interactions between information providers and users. So, as a part of Discovery's series, today we have the webinar overview on the online training platform, the active offer of French language health services, why it matters, and how to put it into practice. And our main presenter will be Sylvie Sylvestre, Community Engagement and Planning Officer at the Réseau du mieux-être francophone du Nord de l'Ontario. The webinar will have three parts. The first one, two guest speakers will introduce the context. After that, the presentation made by Sylvie, and the third part will be the question and comment, for which we will have around 10 to 15 minutes at the end of the presentation. This webinar will provide an overview of the objectives of the 6 modules that are included in the training. So, before the presentation, I'd like to invite our first guest, Lise Richard, Project Manager at the Société.
Thank you, Jérémy. And it's a pleasure to be here today to introduce this webinar on this tool that we find of great importance for the advancement of Francophone services across the country for communities in a minority situation. So I am the project officer here at Société Santé en français. And my files that are under my responsibility have been active offer, human resources, and linguistic data. So I was very much interested in seeing this tool be launched a few weeks ago. I'd like firstly to congratulate the Réseau du mieux-être français du Nord de l'Ontario for the development of this tool. It will be very useful and falls in line with the priorities of the Société Santé en français and its networks across Canada. We have recently developed a joint position paper on active offer, one in fact that was modeled on the one from Ontario. And we have a new online platform called HHR Strategy for the recruitment and retention of staff in the healthcare system. And active offer is very important in relationship to recruitment and retention. In the future, I also would like to say, that this whole project was also a great example of collaboration with all the networks and the entities across Ontario, as well as with the Toronto Central Local Health Integration Network. And also at a national level with the accreditation for Canadian Health Leaders College members who will follow the training of the active offer platform. So we look forward to the future, and we hope that you find this tool useful and that you go explore it. For us, along with HHR strategy and upcoming linguistic standards on on francophone services, and also the implementation of a framework for French language health services in Canada. This tool really is a support to all of those efforts. So we look forward to the future. And without further ado, Jérémy.
Thank you, Lise. Lise will also help me in the question and comments period, just to make you know. Second, I'd like to invite Diane Quintas, Executive Director at the Réseau mieux-être francophone du Nord de l'Ontario. Diane?
Oui, bonjour. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. It really means a lot to us to have you here, have you interested in our project. Active offer is something that we've been working on for some time. Lise mentioned earlier that there was a position paper that was created jointly by the 6 planning entities and by the 3 Réseaux in Ontario on trying to define active offer and what does that mean, and have one common definition across the province. Following that, we thought, okay, well, now we have a definition, how do we do it? And that was really one of the questions that we kept getting asked by healthcare providers and by human resources that were saying, you know what, this is great. I love the concept, but how do I do it? What does it actually mean? And so we have planning agents across Northern Ontario that work with the providers, that work with health human resources, that work with different organizations. And we're often repeating the same messages. So we thought, well, why don't we create something that can, that can be useful to everyone, that can reach more people at a wider span. So we started working on the project with a bunch of different partners, with the CNFS, Laurentian University, with the different entities, the Réseaux, the LINs in our region and in Toronto area. And what we really wanted to do was create a tool that would help answer the questions for providers and also for students that are studying in healthcare. We wanted something that would help raise awareness on the importance of active offer, but would also at the same time promote the important role that individuals can play to ensure ongoing improvement of active offer in French language services. So not only at an institutional level, what does active offer mean, but me as a healthcare provider working with people every day, what can I do to help promote active offer? We often say that services in French really isn't just like something that people want or ask for because they feel like it. It's a question of a need. The same way as I need, a certain surgery, I also need to understand my healthcare provider and the directions that I will be given as a patient once I leave the care of that provider. So we need to ensure that health human resources and students in the health sector realize that French language services is really about the quality and the safety of care for patients. If a patient leaves my care as a provider not understanding what's happened or what needs to be done in the future, then I as a provider am not providing a quality care or safe care. And so that's really some of the message that we're trying to get across. So we created these modules, as I said, with a lot of different partners. We're really happy to share them, and we look forward to feedback. We look forward to, if there's other provinces, other territories that are interested in adapting these models for their regions. We're happy to start discussions on that. Right now, the modules are very much geared towards the Ontarian laws, regulations, method of functioning, but can easily be adapted elsewhere as well. So without further ado, I will stop here because I know you're not here to listen to me. You're really here to figure out what are these modules about and how do I start my training. So good luck.
Thank you, Diane. A few words on our presenter today. So Mrs. Sylvie Sylvestre holds a master in clinical psychology from the Université Laval. She has more than 20 years of experience as a worker and a manager in mental health and addictions, as well in community support services. At the Réseau, her lead projects are designation and identification of health service provider and the active offer of French language health services. Before handing it over to Sylvie, I would like to make a few comments about our Zoom webinar platform. So your mic are automatically set to mute and only the presenters have sound and video. For the question period at the end of the presentation, you will have 3 options. So all the options are on the toolbar of the Zoom webinar platform. The first option is the conversation box at the bottom. The second one is the question answer box. And the third one is a small hand that you can just activate, and I will see you, at which point I will activate your mic and camera so you can ask your question to the presenter. So without further ado, I will pass this over to Sylvie. Welcome.
Oui, bonjour. Thank you for being there, everybody. Now I have to share my screen, go to presentation. No, not that one. Okay, so here we are. Just very brief overview of the web-based platform. Want to say that we were inspired to choose the different thematics of the modules. So there's an introduction in 6 modules, and the modules were inspired by the priorities established by the Office of the French Language Services Commissioner of Ontario in one of his reports titled Active Offer of French Language Health Services. The modules were also inspired from the reference framework for active offer of French language health services, and there's also a toolbox for the active offer, both being developed by the Consortium National de Formation en Santé, the acronym being CNFS. We also went to health service providers in Northern Ontario, as well as Laurentian University healthcare students. They completed a survey to help guide us in selecting the topics that are addressed in the training course. And there's also an excellent active offer training guide that was developed by Réseau, which is one of the French language health networks in the Toronto area. And from these sources, you will see that the modules were developed from that. We would like to thank Société, Santé en français, the CNFS from Laurentian University, the Northern Ontario School of Medicine, and as was mentioned, the French Language Health Networks and the French Language Health Planning Entities of Ontario. They all supported us throughout the project. We also like to thank everybody who contributed their time and their energy towards the creation and the revision of the interactive training course, in particular the Northeast and the Northwest LINs, the local health integration networks. Okay. So in terms of the training course goals, we wish to raise awareness, as Diane had said, of the importance of the active offer of French language health services with both health service providers and students who study in the field of healthcare. We want to promote the important role that students, future healthcare professionals, the current healthcare professionals can play in ensuring the ongoing improvement of the active offer of French language health services. And as mentioned by Diane as well, we want to ensure the safety and quality of care for patients and clients. Basically, the content of this training course was developed by us, the Réseau du mieux-être francophone du Nord de l'Ontario, and the course content was migrated to the online platform that you will see when I start navigating. It was migrated by the CRIDEC, which is a research center affiliated with the Université de Hearst. An overview of the training course, as I said, it contains an introduction, which is about 30 minutes in length, and 6 learning modules that are about 45 minutes each. As you can see, the training course is available in French at formationoffreactive.ca and in English at activeoffertraining.ca. It is free. So in terms of completing the introduction and the 6 modules, it should take about 5 hours. It's geared towards people who study or work in healthcare in Ontario. But you will see that, yes, the content is geared towards the laws, the healthcare system of Ontario, but it certainly can be completed by others in other provinces or territories, because the training modules really often transcend geographical boundaries and can be pertinent to everybody. In order to, I will go back just a few more words. In order to receive a certificate, the participants have to complete all of the training modules, and there are also evaluations associated with each of the training modules. So there's 6 evaluations, and we just want to make sure that people have gone through the modules and not just click, go through, but there will be between 6 and 9 questions at the end of each module. It's recommended that you complete, once you start one of the modules, that you complete it in its entirety, which just makes it easier instead of going back and forth and doing 5 minutes and 10 minutes. It's short. Introduction 30 minutes, as I said, the modules 45 minutes. So if you can do that in one sitting, that would be ideal. And the certificate of completion you will be sent within 14 days. You will see when I start navigating that there's lots of examples of innovative and best practices. We have used video testimonials so that it's more interactive. A lot of resource materials. And what I really like is that you can complete the training course from a computer or even on a tablet. I just sat one morning on my couch and I thought, oh, okay, I'll try this on my iPad, and really, really enjoyed it. So in terms of the content, the first module, Excellence in Patient-Centered Care, goes over the general features of active offer, and we show a lot of best practices in terms of direct services to clients, and best practices also with regards to visual identity and communication. The second module, Equity and Safety, obviously equity and safety with respect to the active offer of French language services and how active offer achieves this. The third module, Cultural Competency, shows a good understanding of the concepts of cultural competency and the importance of cultural competence for francophones who live in a minority context. The fourth module, Recruitment and Retention of Bilingual Human Resources, is really an overview of a strategy, of a health human resources strategy that was developed by the French Health Network of Central Southwestern Ontario. It's excellent, by the way. I have completed it. I have my certificate from this particular strategy. So I do invite everybody to complete that particular training course as well. And you will see in Module 4, we do reference it and we do share their website information for people to do the training course, because it's about 4.5 hours. So in 45 minutes really is an overview. The fifth module looks at how can you or how can agencies provide leadership in terms of French language health services, how to develop a bilingual organizational culture, and how to plan and implement French language health services. And the last one, community engagement, gives a definition of community engagement and its purpose, how to plan community engagement with the Francophone community. And we also give some concrete examples of community engagement with the Francophone community. So in terms of navigating our web-based platform, there is no registration required. There is no set deadline to complete the training. But we are able to track your progression when you submit an evaluation form at the end of each module. You will see once we start that you can use choose the region in order to access content that is adapted to your region. When I say content that is adapted, what I mean is that we will list all of the health service providers that are designated under the French Language Services Act or that are identified. So if you want to know who are the service providers in your area that are designated or identified, then you would see that from the region that you have chosen. Also in terms of statistics for the Francophone population of your region, that will also be adapted to the region that you choose. Okay. Here we go. As Lise Richard had mentioned, we have worked with Lise and we are very appreciative of her support in helping us contact the Canadian College of Health Leaders and have this training course recognized and certified so that members of the Canadian College of Health Leaders can get 2.5 Category 2 credits towards maintaining their certification requirements. And by the way, we are also working with other colleges for other accreditation. So coming soon. And if you are outside of the province, as Diane has mentioned, please do contact us if you would like this training course adapted to your province or territory. Okay. I will now go to the platform, so that we can do a little bit of navigating to give you enough curiosity, hopefully, to do the training course. So before I start navigating, I just want to say that it is my wish that people would do the training course, that students would do the training course, and eventually if they go to a job interview, it would be really great to see them arrive with their certificate of completion or even write it on their resume that they have completed this training course. We have started receiving some feedback. We already have our first person in the area, in the region of Sudbury, who has completed the training course and who will be the first one to receive her certificate. But we have been told that it is user-friendly, so that really makes us happy. And we wish to receive your feedback, your comments, and I already see that we have started receiving feedback and comments, because when I was preparing for the navigating this morning, I already saw some changes that our team has brought. So you will see here the tab Français, so you can go back and forth between the two versions. You can go back to the training course in French, but of course today's webinar is in English, so we will do the English. I won't go home just yet. I will go on the About tab, and basically the About tab simply has information about the content, about our financial support. We're funded by Health Canada and by the Toronto Central Local Health Integration Network. We have some acknowledgements with all of the logos of our partners. And as I mentioned, the platform was migrated to this site by the CRIDEC. So we go back up there. We do have a frequently asked questions tab, which will be updated regularly. Okay, so right now there are 6 questions, but with all of the feedback that we are receiving now, we will be putting this up to date on a regular basis. There's a contact tab, so we will straight go to the home tab, and we have just a short welcome note here, reminder that the presentation is available in English and French, the goals, the titles of the 6 modules, and then reminder with the Canadian College of Health Leaders, their accreditation process, and we can directly go to the Start button. Okay, and this is where we choose the region. Okay, so you will see all of the regions with the French language health planning entities in Southern Ontario, in the East, and for today's session, we will go on the Northeast and Northwest region with our Réseau du mieux-être francophones Nord Ontario. So here you can access the training modules. So if you have finished, you've finished Introduction Module 1, Module 2, then you can go directly from here to Module 3 and continue. Okay. So we will go to Introduction, of course. Okay. We invite people to use the arrows on the slides and not use the arrows on their keyboard. Okay. There are some terms and conditions, and this is where we say at the end of each module, we will ask for your name, your position, the name of your organization, or if you're a student, the post-secondary institution, and your email address so that we can track once you have completed all of the 6 modules so that we can then send you your certificate of completion. So you have read the terms and conditions, we can go on. Reminder at the beginning, this will take about 30 minutes. The others, it will remind you it'll take about 45 minutes. Then we will give an outline of the chapters in the module in question. Okay, and then we are ready to start. There's 2 ways to access the referenced material that we use in the modules. In each of the slides, you will see at the end, at the bottom here, that the title of the reference material will be there, and there will also be the hyperlink. So in the event that you wanted more information, you can access it right there in the particular slide. But just underneath here, you will see you can also go and access all of the resources that are used in the introduction or in the module in question. So, and we have all of the hyperlinks. So if I wanted more information on, oh yes, there was mention about the Guide to Requirements and Obligations relating to French Language Health Services that was recently published in November by the Ministry of Health, I can go and get more information there. If not, I go back and I continue with the module in question. Okay, then we're already done chapter 1 of the introduction. We go on to chapter 2. And because this is another of the adapted slides for each region. So if I had clicked on the, say, the Réseau in the Eastern region, their logo would be here, as would their phone number and contact information. Okay, and then we go on. I will go through quickly because I just simply want to show some of the highlights. I don't want to take too much time, but just enough to pique your curiosity and invite you to do the training course. Okay. So here's some of one of the highlights. It doesn't happen very often in the slides, but if I wanted more information about the 26 French designated areas in Ontario, instead of going in the reference material at the bottom bar, I can also go on the magnifying glass, and it will bring me to the map highlighting the French designated areas in Ontario. If I didn't want more information, I could just simply continue with the arrow and go to the next one. Here is another slide where I can go and get more information if I would like to. If not, I just click on the arrow and continue on to the next slide. But for an example, I'm curious and I want to know, what are the responsibilities of designated health service providers in Ontario? So I can simply click on the box here and it'll come and give me a definition of their responsibilities. And then I go back. Well, you know what? I'm also interested in knowing more about the identified health service providers, their responsibilities. So I can go there and get a definition of that. That's it. I don't want to know more about this. I can just go on to the next slide. And as I was saying, this is information that's adapted to each region. Let's say I'm in the Northwest. I'm in Thunder Bay. And I would like to know more about who are the identified health service providers in the Northwest. I can go and click here, and there we go. I have a list of all of the identified health service providers who are in the regional and city of Thunder Bay region. And then I can go on. Okay, here we go. District of Kenora. That is what I was interested in. I see that the Mary Berglund Community Health Center is identified. And if I don't want more information, that's it. I can go on. I don't work in the Northeast because I'm in the Northwest. I can click here to continue. Okay, and then we go on to the demographics of the Francophone population. Well, now I'm one of the participants taking this course, and I really am curious about what is the percentage of the Francophone population in Nipissing-Témiscamingue. So I can go and click here, and there we go. It's highlighted here. I didn't realize that in the Nipissing-Témiscamingue region, 20.9% of the population are Francophone. So that turns out to be 28,590 Francophones out of the population of a little over 136,000. Okay. And we go on. We're already done, chapter 2. We go on to chapter 3, and we have decided here, I'm just going to pause. Here's a short clip of a video. This one is 1 minute, 23 seconds. It was developed by us, the Réseau du mieux-être, to explain what is the active offer of French language health services. And by the way, the videos in this training course are from 30 seconds to a maximum of 6 minutes. We didn't want to make it too long. So I will just take, because I'm looking at the time, we're okay for time, I will take 1 minute and 23 just to show you the video.
This is Sylvain. Sylvain was born in Ontario. He's a francophone and speaks a little English. He is not a complicated guy. Sylvain drives safely wherever he goes. Sylvain buys a coffee every morning.
Bonjour, je voudrais avoir un café avec un muffin, s'il vous plaît. OK.
Sylvain trusts his mechanic.
J'aimerais faire poser mes pneus d'hiver, s'il vous plaît.
Sylvain is easygoing about his hairstyle.
Hi, can you, my Tibet, arrange it?
However, when it comes to his health, it is important for Sylvain to be able to communicate in his own language.
I pain, I don't, I feel,
French healthcare services are a necessity, not a luxury.
Okay. So you will see throughout the training course as well that we repeat the definition of the active offer French language health services. It's not always the same layout in terms of the slide, but it's the same information, and we just want to make sure that people do retain it. So it's repeated a couple of times throughout the training course. Like I said, here again is a similar slide where one can access a little bit more information in terms of the key players and what are their roles and responsibilities. I'm a healthcare professional. I want to know, what is it that is my role as a professional? And here are some of the key roles that you as a healthcare professional, you proactively welcome your francophone clients in French, you understand their needs, you provide the necessary care to refer them to the resources that are able to provide such care, and so on. Okay? And if I'm at an organizational level, I wanted to access more information, I can do that. Here it is. If not, that's all I wanted to know, and then I go on. Okay? Here's another short video. This one, like I said, is 30 seconds. And except for the first video of Sylvain describing the active offer, all of the other videos are then followed up with some reflective questions, okay, to make you just stop and start thinking about the video. And then right immediately after the reflective questions, we do provide some possible answers. Okay. Just quickly go through this. So because basically we are done the introduction. Oh, here's another video. Reflective questions again, possible answers. We're almost at the end, and I forgot to mention here in the corner, we don't have a progress bar, but we have the numbers of these slides. So you can see I'm almost done. I'm at 77 out of 78 slides. And at the end of each of the modules, we do remind people, if you have any questions, if you would like to further discuss the active offer or even suggest some additional resources, please contact your French language health network or planning entity in your region. And don't forget, you can access all of the resource materials here at the bottom of the slides. And we are done, and then we can go on to click to start module 1. I'm only going to do very briefly a couple of the beginning of module 1 because there's a couple of other highlights that I just want to show. Okay, so same as the beginning of the introduction, and you will see this at each module, and then we start. As I was saying, same definition as a while ago, the active offer of French language services, except that the look is different. Here's one of the highlights. We have included in the module some questions to test your knowledge. And instead of having them at the end of each module and people who aren't quite sure, can't remember what it was in terms of the correct answer, they don't have to go all the way back, but we have included them throughout the modules. So, and they're very easy, and it's just to make you reflect. True or false, a successful active offer is centered on the patient. Well, you know, I'm not paying attention. I will say, okay, that is false. Well, Melissa here says, no, I'm sorry, that's the wrong answer. Click here to try again. Okay, and I go on true, it is the right answer, and then we can continue to the next question. The key elements of active offer are, oh yes, I remember, it was accountability of providers, recognition of the linguistic and cultural needs, and access to quality French language services. So I will click all of these answers, and Melissa says, yes, right answer, click here to continue. Okay, and then we can go on to start chapter 2. Reminder of the title of chapter 2. And what I really like here is that I really like the layout of this summary table. because this is a summary table that we at the Réseau have used in our presentations when we do presentations to healthcare professionals or health service providers, board of directors even, French language services committees. And we have noticed that when we would go back, some of the committees would have photocopied this summary table of best practices of direct service to clients as a reminder, and they were going around the table and having a discussion. So we thought we're going to use it again, and perhaps there's a way that people can just print this screenshot and use it as a reminder. And so following, there's two of these summary tables in this module. There's one for direct services to clients and one for visual identity and communication. And after each of these best practices that we note one by one, it's accompanied by a soundtrack that plays automatically. Okay, and I'll just do the one.
Bilingual professionals. Bilingual professionals are those who offer direct services to clients in English and French, such as reception services, clinical services, or other direct care services, in addition to administrative services. The recruitment and retention of bilingual human resources will be addressed in Module 4.
Okay, that's it in terms of navigating the platform. I do want to go show you what the evaluation looks like at the end of each module. So basically, you will see at the top here the title, and under this, for this evaluation, you must correctly answer a minimum of 6 out of 9 questions. Okay, and with the stars, this is mandatory information that you have to fill out. I started my name, the name of my workplace, my title, and as I was saying, it's already been updated, because when I did the webinar last week, this was not there, this section. In which entity, Réseau's region, are you completing the training? Now my staff has realized, or maybe have, not my staff, but my colleagues have realized or received some feedback that maybe this would be a good thing to add. So yes, I'm in the Réseau du mieux-être francophone region. I put in my email address, and there's only 3 pages here. And then I go to the next, and just to save a little bit of time, I decided I'm going to answer the questions. There's, like I said, it's a repeat here for this evaluation. You must correctly answer a minimum of 6 out of 9 questions correctly. So I have chosen my answers, and then I can go on to the next page, last and final page, where you can provide us with your comments or suggestions. I decided, well, I'm going to let them know it was excellent, user-friendly training course, and then I send off my evaluation form. And then I can already see that, I'm sorry, this is in French here, but I can show what my results, how did I do out of the 9 questions? Well, here's my score. I got 8 out of 9. And that is basically it. Just a few words to end. Like I said, we hope that a lot of people take advantage of this. We would love to see healthcare professionals, students with their certificates of completion, and encourage their colleagues to do the training course. And I will leave, because I see that we have a lot of participants across Ontario, but also across Canada. I will leave you with a challenge. Among today's participants, who will be the first to receive a certificate of completion? So in addition to receiving your certificate, there is also a prize to be won. And that's it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Thank you so much, Sylvie. So it's the question period. So you, like we say in French, la parole est à vous. And Lise will give me a hand to just be sure that I don't miss anything. You have 3 ways to exchange with us: the conversation box, the question and answer box and the small N that you can activate, and I will just activate your mic and camera so you can ask your question, and then I share 3 links in the conversation box. So the Savoir Santé en français portal, the active offer joint statement of the Société and the 16 network, and the HHR strategy that Sylvie told us. So, Lise?
Your questions, and thank you, Jeremy, for your help with some of that. Maybe a first question, Sylvie or Diane, in relationship to the platform. What happens if I'm a professional or a health manager outside of Ontario and I'd like to follow the training?
Well, I can answer that for you, Lise. So as we mentioned before, the training modules were created for Ontario in our reality. However, a lot of the information in the training modules are very general, based on what is active offer and how do you do it. There is some specific information, as you saw as we went through the training module, that talks about the number of designated organizations in a specific region or whatnot, which wouldn't be pertinent necessarily for someone out of province. However, the rest of the information would be. So in this case, we would just recommend for now that the person would just pick any of the regions and follow the training module. And then would get their certificate. As I mentioned earlier, we're more than happy to work with different provinces and territories to try and adapt. We're planning on putting a little kind of statement in there telling people just pick a region for now, or if you're from outside of, Ontario, pick one of the 4 regions, and we'll let us know that you're interested, and we'll happily work with you to adapt.
Thank you very much, Diane. And a second question, I was wondering if there's a plan for a research evaluation around the implementation of the tools and the process to implement active offer within an organization.
Yes, I'm sorry. I did forget to mention that. Following 3 months after somebody receives their certificate of completion, there will be a second survey sent so that we can get feedback in terms of what have you changed or what's different in terms of your practice for the active offer of French language services, so that we can start knowing what impact we are having and some of the best practices that are being put in place, or new best practices that we would like to share as well.
Sure. Thank you very much, Sylvie.
Lise, if I could add, the Réseau has also begun already negotiations with the contractor to do an evaluation of the project as a whole, and to see whether or not we've had an impact with these modules in our region in improving knowledge and about active offer. So it's already in the works.
Wonderful. I look forward to seeing the results of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks. Yeah. Again, if there are any questions, please, I saw a question that just came up. Before I read that question, we'd also be interested in hearing from those who are participating presently, if you see what you see, if you see the platform as useful, and how you might use it where you're at. So there's a question from Emily Wittes. I hope I pronounced your name properly. Once you complete all the modules and corresponding evaluations, are you automatically provided with your certificate? Or is there further information or forms that need to be completed?
No, there's no further work to be done. We will be able to see from your name and from your email address that you have completed the 6 modules, and it's not an automatic certificate that appears on the platform, but we will be mailing your certificate to you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Also a reminder that if you'd rather ask the question live, you could go on the top left-hand corner of your screen. There's a little hand there. Click on that and Jeremy will activate your sound so that you can ask the question yourself. Otherwise, you can use the question and answer box or the conversation box as well on the bottom of your screen.
We have one question, Lise, on the Q&R box.
Oh, I can't see that. Oh, yes. Question from Dean Gambin. Was the training modules reviewed through an accessibility perspective? For example, fonts and font size, color contrast, etc.
We did have that, we did keep that in mind. It may not be perfect, so if there is feedback or comments or suggestions for improvement, we do welcome that. And perhaps that's something, one of the next steps as well, that we can revise that. So thank you for that reminder.
And just as a reminder, Sylvie, people can give feedback throughout the process or at the end of the training?
No, people can give feedback at each evaluation, at each module that they complete. See, on page 3, there is that section for comments and suggestions for improvement.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes.
Oh, I thought there was another question, but it disappeared.
I don't know why, but it switched on the Réseau section.
Oh, I see it now, yep.
I clicked, I wanted to respond to the question by text, and
oh, I see.
resolved. So I'll let you go.
Jeremy, I'm not seeing it on my thing here. So go ahead, Diane, please.
Yeah, perhaps it just says, bravo, I intend to connect with Santé en français Manitoba to see if there could be an appetite to look to something like this for our province. Kudos on the initiatives et merci pour le partage SSF. So Lorraine, just to let you know that I've already had some discussion with Annie with regards to that. I think there is some interest there, but of course, any interest coming from outside towards her will just encourage her to move forward even more. And if we see that there's a lot of appetite, then even better. So merci Lorraine for your comment.
Good.
No, go ahead, Jeremy.
We have a big 5 minutes for questions.
And Sylvie, you said that there's already someone who's completed the training?
Yes, shortly, I'm trying to think, maybe Diane can tell me, was it the day after the webinar? No, it was the day before the webinar. Last week in French, we had somebody in Sudbury who completed the training course because we had to give a second challenge for the first person to complete the training module from their list of participants. So I thought I'll extend the same challenge for today's participants. The first person to complete the training course will receive, on top of their certificate, a great prize. I'm not quite sure what it is, but there will be a great prize.
Thank you, Sylvie. There are 2 other questions. Again, Emily Wedis is saying, I'm watching this webinar on behalf of my boss. Will he be able to take the training course without participating in this webinar?
Absolutely, and you can tell your boss if he's the first one to complete, then perhaps he might be the one to get the or he or she or he will be able to get the prize for the first participant of the webinar, even though he didn't technically participate. So The more people that participate, the better. And absolutely, you don't need to watch the webinar. The webinar is there to promote the tool, to give people information about it, and really get the word out. So, not necessary.
Thank you. There's
the webinars, I wanted to add too, if I'm not mistaken, Lise, you can answer that the webinars will also be recorded and available.
Yes. Yes.
People want to watch it in the future.
Yes, the GDB usually follows up with sending out the webinar after today, so it will be available. It'll also be available on our portal, Savoir Santé, on our website. There's a comment and then another question. Giselle Thibodeau, Diane, it sounds like you're going to be getting a call maybe. Giselle Thibodeau says, Bonjour from Réseau Santé Nouvelle-Écosse. I plan to complete the module and will discuss with the executive director to have it adapted to Nova Scotia.
Excellent. I will look forward to hearing from Jean-Françoise on that. And I think she also indicated interest at the last webinar. So
yeah, I think so. And from Dean Gambin, were people with lived experience involved in the development of the modules?
Absolutely. I see Sylvie wanted to answer as well, and I can let her as well. The Réseau works very closely with the communities. We are, one of our mandates is community engagement, and so we're constantly out there with the people that are living through the healthcare system and hearing their experience. We work really very much based on lived experience. That's what we believe feeds amélioration, feeds improvement in the system. This is how people are experiencing the system, so what do we need to do to make it better? And so although there wasn't necessarily anyone with lived experience that validated the modules and whatnot, our background and our those that validated it do have that. And I always like to tell people is that the reality is we all live through the healthcare system, Sylvie, with her parents who are, living through the system right now. I've gone through the system with my kids. So although not directly, indirectly, absolutely. And Sylvie, do you want to add to that?
No, well said. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jan. Dean Gambin also, oh, sorry.
So I just saw Dean's question again. Be nice to see videos of people with lived experience in the modules. Absolutely. There are videos in the modules of people with lived experience. There are videos that were used, created by the CNFS. I don't know if you might have seen them before, but they're individuals that have experiences and they share them, and we use those throughout the modules.
Thank you again. Unless there, oh, thanks so much for answering my questions.
Avec plaisir.
If there are no other questions, I'd like to point out that Jeremy has put in the conversation box the link for the evaluation of this webinar. The evaluations are very important to us. It permits us to improve the way we present things and also give feedback to the presenters on the subject matter in question. So, and we offer webinars on a regular basis, so it's important for us to get that feedback. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, Jamie?
No, that's great. It just takes 2 minutes to fill. So it's an easy evaluation, and it's all of us, like Lise said. So I will share the screen, and it will be the end of the webinar. So for information to the spring webinar and upcoming activities, you can write us at info.santefrançais.ca or see the program online on our website. And just like Lise said, take 2 minutes to fill the the evaluation. I'm sure that Sylvie and Diane will appreciate it. And so that's it. Thank you so much for your participation. Thank you, Sylvie. Thank you, Diane.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And hope we will see you on our next webinar. Goodbye.